It's full screen now.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Did he say?
He said fair enough.
Hello, everybody.
Now we're back. We're back on
Sorry
live.
about the delay. We had to switch back to Skype. What's up? What's up?
Nothing.
We are live.
We lost one.
We have unfortunately lost one. James, unfortunately, predicting potentially 2018 Paul McCartney's death, has had to drop out of the cast really quickly here, and he has a busy day and won't be able to join us for the remainder of it.
I guess before we go any further here, let's address the elephant in the room. Are you gonna watch the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Never been a football fan. I still don't understand football. Like the first word, like thought that comes into my mind when I think of football is Arsenal.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I wasn't born in this country either, so you can't even fault that against me.
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
I wasn't born in Canada. I was born in India, my friend.
Where?
In the wonderful state of Kerala.
Why did I not know that? That's weird. It's been what, like 4 years?
We don't normally talk about our private lives on this podcast here. Regardless, let's get back into it. So we covered the fact that the schedule's not really to our favor. Continuing off of that, this is basically our second bye week that is done. And did you watch the All-Star week? Or the All-Star
I did.
Week, right?
I didn't watch the competition. I had to work, unfortunately, so I couldn't watch the All-Star competition, which is annoying because I normally actually like competition more than the All-Star game, at least in the past. This year, last couple of years, the All-Star game has actually been pretty good. In the sense that
they make jokes and stuff like that. Nothing about it is like actually like
good in the sense that
it's like browsing the wholesome meme subreddit. It's great for like an hour, and the next thing you know, you're on the 50/50 subreddit contemplating what you're doing with your life.
I do that every day, though. I contemplate my life. It's just normal. But did you watch them like 3 or 4 years ago? Did you watch the All-Star games like 3 or 4 years? So when I wanted to watch those, I wanted to throw myself out a window. It was so bad.
Holy shit! Sorry.
So in comparison to that, the 3-on-3 is more exciting. There's always no one's actually trying, but it's funny to me that you can watch McDavid in 3-on-3 and he'll just be going nice and slow, and then all of a sudden he jumps ahead and he's going light years faster than everyone. And it goes to show that even against best players he's awesome, but it was more more entertaining, I guess. Like it was good. But then again, I was listening to Bob McKenzie's podcast, which it's worth watching on I guess against Castbox as I have, but he mentioned he never goes to the All-Star game and he won't go just because he thinks it's a break. He doesn't enjoy it. It's not regular. It's a great weekend to go and watch, but he says it's not really worth being there if you're a media person a lot of times.
Yeah. Because this is essentially, like, so to speak, sort of like a break, right? Nothing happens.
It's supposed to be a break.
Yeah. And in the past, what was it? There was an event that happened between two different players, and there was like a series. I don't remember the story. I'll have to look it up. But there's a reason. There used to be a time until the All-Star break was all serious, and then some Bobby Clark or something incident happened. And then the players didn't give it their all during the game, and then every aspect of the game just died.
I think someone might have been injured. That might have been a thing.
Yeah. So I had to delete the last stream VOD. So I'll redo the introduction really quickly here. This is a Runatic 5, and join us in our Oil Spill Broad podcast. This is titled the Oil Spill Podcast. We did not intend for all these technical difficulties to happen, and unfortunately, Skype decided to do the greatest update of all time on us, and we've had to mess around with stuff. And continuing on, with me today is Sweet44722, otherwise known as Adam. And our first topic that we discussed in our earlier part of our stream is the fact that the Oilers' schedule has not been favorable to them this season, and it's sort of been a bore on the fans in that regard.
I just realized that my big ass ugly face is the only thing on the screen.
Yes.
Other than, yeah. So that's great.
Sort of the reason why I wanted to use Discord. And unfortunately, we have no other consequence but to see Adam's big ass ugly face, as quoted by himself. So you
I know what I am
for saying that.
I don't discount shit. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I'm not Shirley trades here. Come on.
Christ.
Kill me.
Anyway, coming back to the schedule here. Last year we had. I'm reiterating this statement. Sorry for those of you that saw it the first time around. But
is low-grade dementia.
Pardon? Yes.
What?
For those of you with dementia, yes, this is for you.
I said you have low-grade dementia.
I have low-grade dementia, dude. I'm pretty sure like the first thing that's gonna go is gonna be my memory, and then everything else. And for some reason, World of Warcraft notifications are coming in there. Anyway, continuing on. So the schedule last year, we had the fewest, second fewest number of back-to-back games. We had the fewest instances where we were playing a team that was rested after, and while we were playing our second of a back-to-back. We had the most number of games where we were playing as a rested team against a team on their second half of a back-to-back. And generally speaking, we had a fairly favorable schedule. Flip over to this season, we have still one of the fewest number of back-to-backs in the league. However, everything else is amok. We have this schedule, for example, where we had our bye week. We played like 3-4 games. Then we have the All-Star break and essentially a second bye week. And then we play on Thursday, followed by a game this Tuesday. And it's just been all over the goddamn place. And what drives it home is after that game on Tuesday, we have something like, I'm guessing here, you can fix me if I'm wrong, 33 games in 66 days.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous what's going to be happening with the games and the distributions and everything like that. But
with that said, though, it's worth noting that we knew this schedule was coming. We don't have that bad of a schedule compared to some other teams. Buffalo got butt fucked again this year.
Yeah.
Butt fucked, I guess you would say. So, this isn't the first time we've had a late season schedule. It's kind of ridiculous. We had, I think it was 3 years ago, we had 15 games in 28 days or something like that. It was in March. I think that was when Eakins was still the coach, unfortunately. But it was either that or when Nelson was coach. At any rate, it would have been around that time. So we know we don't have that many back-to-backs. Yes, we have a lot of games in a lot of days, but we didn't have that many back-to-backs. We were mostly playing teams on the second half of back-to-backs rather than rested. So realistically, our strength of schedule early on was advantageous, and we didn't capitalize. So now we're in the situation of, well, the season's over, and now we have 33 games, 66 days. It's kind of, it's basically, I would say the strength of schedule is a moot point. It kind of isn't, because again, it's still going to impact our play, but it is because realistically, we shouldn't have to worry about this kind of situation if we had played well enough early in the season.
Yeah. That's what ultimately it comes down to is we drove ourselves into the ground in when the season started with that 4-game losing streak, and then we just never got back up to it. Like, we kept getting to the point where we're like, oh, we're at 500 if we don't count our overtime and shootout losses, and we just could never piece it together. And you add into the fact that we couldn't be like Anaheim last year, where they got a bunch of loser points and managed to do better with a fewer number of wins in terms of the standings. Like, sure. We couldn't take any game into OT, and when we do take games to the OT, fortunately we're good at winning them. That also means that, like, if it's a game against Calgary, who we have to climb up against in the standings, because we are in the same division as them, that's a free point to them that we're giving away. That's been the primary issue in the last month and a half, is yes, we're winning more than we're losing, not by a whole lot, but by a whole lot, yeah.
When we win games, we're giving away points, especially to Western Conference. We had that stretch where we played, 11 out of 15 games were against Western Conference teams?
Yeah.
I think we won like 5 or 6 of them, and a lot of them went to overtime. Like, it's just the Oilers have been shooting themselves in the foot all season. So when it comes to scheduling, don't really give that much of a shit, considering we've kind of, again, drove ourselves from the ground like you started, and then, like you stated, and haven't gone back since. It's just, no. It's not an excuse that we were. It's not a valid excuse at this point in the season.
I will apologize for that random pop-up stream. I've had to mess around with a few different settings to make sure that notification doesn't show up. Continuing on. Obviously, the Oilers schedule, bad as it is sort of being exacerbated by some wingers, per se. This isn't necessarily on our topic list here. We weren't initially planning on talking about wingers, but I figured it's a good topic. Essentially, our best winger, both this season and last season, I would still say last season, has been our second-line center. And then we go and sign him for the rate, assuming that he would be our second-line center, and we are still playing him on the wing. While we get rid of our second-best winger. So, what are your basic thoughts? Like, would you think that there is a potential solution here? Because we keep pointing out that there's a problem with our wingers. Our wingers suck. But at this point, we need to go past that and figure out a way that we can make it suck less.
So, again, with the way this has worked out now is we've kind of backed ourselves into a corner. So there's really only one solution to the winger problem, and that's trading. We can't. We have Puljujärvi and Yamamoto in the waiting in the wings. Tyler Benson's a pretty good option. He's again still, but they're all other than Puljujärvi, they're 2 to 3 years away from joining the Oilers. Yamamoto might be able to make the team next year, but he won't be an impact player. He'll probably play time in the AHL. Tyler Benson should not be in the NHL next year. As good as he's been in WHL, he needs to make sure he can play at a high level without getting injured. So realistically, our best option here is to trade. And last time I checked, we haven't won a trade under Chiarelli other than Talbot and I guess technically Maroon. So I don't know. It's I guess the other option. Josh Levo recently said he would be willing to be traded. In which case, I think he might be a worthy option of looking at. Then again, are we going to give up Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for him? Because right now, I remember a few years ago, actually one of the first few episodes, I think we were going off about defense and or centerman. How we were debating trading Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for better centerman, but it was robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it'll be the same thing right now if we get rid of another centerman. For the longest time, we had no centerman. Remember when our centerman was Arcobello and fucking...
Yeah, we came into the season while most of the subreddit was going, this will be our year, guys, this will be our year. And I'm thinking to myself, our second-line center is Mark Arcobello.
Yeah. It's like, and Sam Gagner was one of our centermen. It was like Arcobello, Sam Gagner, and Nuge. I think were the top 3 centermen.
Cassian broke his jaw, so he was injured to start the season. We were missing Gagner. If we had Gagner, that would have been definitely a better start to our season.
But it's one of those, and I'm talking like this is like 2 years ago, like under Eakins, I think it was. It was like, it got to the point where it was just ridiculous. So right now, yeah, you trade Nuge, and we still have Draisaitl and McDavid, but we're not using Draisaitl as a winger. Or we're using Draisaitl as a winger, sorry. So that means we have one top centerman? Because realistically, who are we going to play as our bottom 2? Kara, Strome, and then maybe Letestu. We don't know if Letestu's going to be here. Kara can't carry a line by himself yet. Ryan Strome hasn't proved he can play center yet. The only option I could see as a solution is trading.
And then you add to that fact in terms of our current winger situation, and our bottom 6 wingers look even worse this year than they've ever looked possibly.
Cassian's been awful.
Kajula is now on the fans' hit list.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Getting no favorable minutes at all because
the
coaching staff has given up on him.
I don't understand what's going on with those two. Like Kajula
lost all the coaches' favor altogether,
yeah,
and now it's
Pack's done. Pack's done. Packering's done.
It's done with the team. Yeah.
Slepyshev is probably gone too. He hasn't done himself any favors this year. He's been mediocre at best, but
he's been mediocre, yeah.
But Kajula hasn't been. I don't think he's been as awful as everyone's saying he is, but he's definitely not played well. Zach
actually,
Kassian,
on that topic of really quickly, and this is something that I always question, but everyone says it's not there. But do you think nationality is playing a part here on why Kajula and Slepyshev have really identical numbers, especially when they're paired with centers that can score, and or centers that at very least put up points, and the fact that Slepyshev got on the trading block while Kajula got first line minutes?
I don't think so. I think Kajula is seen as a more versatile player. He's a little bit smaller, but he's a little bit quicker. I don't think nationality is any part of it. Let's put that out of the question right now. Okay. With that said, was there maybe a clause with Kajula where they said, yeah, you'll get us this amount of first-line minutes? We don't know. It's possible. I don't want to speculate that because that's a terrible thing to speculate. But it seems like Slepyshev, because Slepyshev has been with the team longer, they know what to expect from him. And if he's not performing at that level, they don't want to reward him. With Kajula, I think they're trying to find what works. And when it doesn't work, they're trying to promote him to McDavid to see if they can get him going and then drop him back down. None of it's worked yet, and it probably won't. But it's odd. I'll give you credit. It's weird. It's a weird situation.
They are the same age.
So, yeah, but Slepyshev has been in the organization for a lot longer.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. But
Slepyshev is younger.
The weird thing is, if we trade Slepyshev and Pakarinen, who the hell makes our team next year for wingers?
Yeah, we're trading away depth, and that's sort of like the second hand of the issue that I want to that I've been wanting to bang my head against the wall about. It's not like everyone's going oh, we lost Eberle, oh, we lost Hall. Those are huge wingers for us, and now we're without wingers. Meanwhile, I'm over here going but why did we give up on Tyler Pitlick again, and not use Benson then as a trade bait or anything like that? We just straight up gave up on Tyler Pitlick, and Pitlick signed by Dallas, plays third line to fourth line minutes on Dallas, pretty much the same role that he played with the Oilers. He has already played 42 games this season. He's played every game this season. He hasn't missed a single game. So as much as you can say, oh, he had injury problems, that's why he wasn't signed. That's also Klefbom's thing too. He was signed to a $4 million contract while he had injury problems, and then he burst out as a great defenseman. Albeit this season he's not having a great year, but I would account that more to a few different reasons.
He's been injured. He's had shoulder injuries all year.
Yeah. Legitimately speaking, I'm of the opinion that he shouldn't play this season. He should just rest it out. Because one of the big things that happened, for example, with Hall was the nagging shoulder injury that kept reoccurring, right?
Yeah, realistically, this season's done. For anyone that is in denial,
like how
we need to go something like 23-7 for the next next while
the rest
here.
Of the season, basically.
We basically, I think we can lose maybe a maximum of 10 games for the rest of the season. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
We're done. So I think the moment we get to the point where I would rest him now, but then again, I'm not the coach. If you still have to sell tickets, you still have to make it look like you're not giving up. You saw Low Tide's blog or rant the other day. I think most of us did. It's a point. It's not good enough to show up and just play. You need to be good, or at least you need to try hard. And I think if you bench a player like Klefbom, who's a top 4 defenseman for us, put him on IR, it doesn't show itself well. Even if he is injured, they haven't come out and said he's still injured. So just putting him on IR is not great for PR if that's anything to it. But they're not in a good spot right now, and it's one of those things where really realistically the only reason the Oilers are still selling tickets is because of McDavid, and how long that's going to last for is debatable. If they keep playing like garbage, we could see some empty seats for the first time in 10 years, 12 years.
Man, I don't want depressing cast. Let's go on from depressing.
Well,
the
annoying part for me is that if we look at our winger,
can you shut up? Let me do the segue.
No, fuck you. If we look at our winger situation, how the hell do you solve it? You trade. We're not. You and I both know that Chiarelli's not going to get a good value in a trade. Okay. It'll be Josh Leo for like a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and Nuge. And it'll be deemed a good deal.
You're missing the first next year too.
Oh right, sorry, yeah, first next year as well. Because who wants Rasmus Dahlin when he can just trade for fucking Josh Lebo?
Sorry. For chat, I'm trying to show you a kick-ass image. When I can. Wait.
Is there a chat right now? No.
Yeah. There's a segue. I'm making a segue right now.
Oh.
I put up a picture of a segue.
Kill yourself.
Because I
like the guy, like the segue guy, go right off a cliff on one.
Yeah. This is our season so far, guys. This is looking good. This is looking good. Oh no, Chiarelli made a trade.
What? Who made a trade?
Chiarelli.
Okay. Make sure you know his name.
Anyway, segue to the fact that the last time the Oilers played was the wondrous overtime. Oh wait, shootout win against the Calgary Flames. So one of the controversial things that happened in there is the goalie interference call, and it ended with the game ended with Connor McDavid going in, doing that dope ass shootout move and scoring, followed by getting a 10-minute penalty for making the statement, "Hey, you want to look at that upstairs too?"
That was so good. That was so look for someone who doesn't show emotions. That was amazing. That was the best thing I've ever seen Connor do.
The great thing about McDavid that that he's like so like robotic and plain, and the greatest thing about him is when he touches the puck, is the fact that afterwards he's like, I don't know what came over me. I apologize.
Yeah, it's just on the ice he's a different person.
A lot of
like the media training apparently when his entire life, really exactly the moment he was on the ice and they got off the ice. Yeah. But on the ice, he's a fucking loose unit. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess for a better discussion topic, there's been a lot of bad calls for goalie interference. I can't bring up. I could try to bring out some examples for you guys and just post it, but I recommend just Google searching for them because it's really that easy.
Oh man.
To give you an example, there was the game against Winnipeg that happened after the Calgary game. I think it was Winnipeg versus the Knights. Yes. And Hellebuck basically got two-handed by Haula in the back of the head, while the Golden Knights scored. And the interference basis was the fact that it's not his fault because Hellebuck's fault because Hellebuck had the chance of getting it back or something like that, and it's turned into a huge mess and confusion because to give you an example, at first it was very clear, you make the challenge, that counts as your timeout. If you fail the challenge, you lose your timeout. The challenge is done by the referees on the ice. It won't go to Toronto. And to give you an example, that call where the Oilers claimed they had interference, although I will say, based upon my view, I thought it should have been interference. But that's my perspective.
Not the slightest.
I do think it's definitely a great call, any way you put it. And with that call, it went to Toronto.
The thing that's worth noting about the Hellebuck thing is this is after the All-Star break, in which
after
Bettman came out and said we're going to go back and talk to the refs.
Yeah,
they talked about it, they deemed it, and then there was within the 2 days after the All-Star break there was the Hellebuck incident, and then there was I can't remember who it was, but they got cleaned up by two Bruins players. Was out of the net. Not even close to his fault. No one touched him. They just do the.
One of them was pushed in by his own defender. The other one came sliding in. Is literally flying in from the side, and is the reason that whoever that goaltender was got knocked out of the net. I can't
remember who the Bruins were playing, but anyway, the NHL said that the goalie made no attempt to get back in the net. But if you look at the top-down view, the goalie's not even in frame anymore.
Yeah, he's
fucking in the corner.
It's against the St. Louis Blues. He completely pushes out Jake Allen from the net.
Yeah, it was Allen. It was Allen that got taken out. Absolutely.
I just recommend searching up DeBrusque goalie interference, and you'll see it. But yeah, it's a total BS call.
It's a coin toss at this point.
No, that's not a coin toss. Like a player knocking out the goaltender from the entire blue paint should be goalie interference.
But what about if he was pushed in? Like it's the issue right now is that they went from overly analyzing to going, well, nothing's goalie interference now because clearly we don't know. It's like the refs are. I actually saw a good analogy online.
And like the reason that Oilers fans, sorry, I'm going to bring it back in. The reason that Oilers fans are especially like annoyed by this, there was a really horrendous collapse in the playoffs that happened against the Ducks, where we allowed 3 goals in the last 3 minutes, and then lost in overtime to allow the Ducks to win. I think it was either Game 5 or Game 6. And it was
Game
bad.
6.
It was Game 6, yeah. It was bad. This was basically should have been our opportunity to, get the lead in the series. Was it the lead in the series?
Yeah, it would have been the series. We would have won that series.
No, we won Game 6.
Yeah, we were up 3-2 in the series.
No, this was Game 5. We won Game 6.
Game 5. Yeah, for sure. We were still up 3-2. I think we were up 3-1 at that point.
It's 2-1. I'm pretty sure it's 2-1. This is Game 5.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then one of the 2 of the goals that happened, both of them super questionable. First goal that happens, Oilers call it back and say that's goalie interference. And when you look at the replay, you see it and you're like, that's not really goalie interference. Talbot doesn't look like he's interfered with. And then you take a look at Ryan Kessler in the play, and he's holding open Talbot's pad to keep the 5-hole open with his glove hand. Right?
Yeah.
That didn't get called for goalie interference. We lost our ability to challenge because we didn't have any more timeouts at that point. And then the second goal happens, which was a fairly clear offside. Couldn't challenge it. And then the third goal happens. Third goal's on us. I won't deny that. The Oilers shouldn't have allowed all 3, but 2 of those goals should not happen, and they did. Is the NHL the NHL clear as day is not doing its job? Because one example is you look at the NFL and they have a very clear cut flow chart in terms of what constitutes a catch and what doesn't constitute a catch.
No. Okay, so this is you're going way. This is like the wrong way to go with this argument. The NFL has been having debates over the last 3 to 4 years over. The NFL has been having debates over the last 3 to 4 years about what is a catch, and there is a couple hundred different plays you can look at, and all constitute different amounts of catches. What was a catch? What isn't a catch? The Steelers had a big play this year where they arguably could beat the Patriots in the regular season, where it was he was deemed down by contact, but no one touched him, and the ball wasn't over the line. It wasn't a catch. If it was on the ground, it wasn't a catch. But the NFL is the wrong way to go with that.
Yeah,
but the way I look at it, I saw a good analogy on Reddit, which was the referees pre and post All-Star break were like a 13-year-old teen, where you're like change the garbage. You're like, oh god, I don't want to do it. You're like, just please change the garbage. And they pick it up and it's just dripping everywhere. And it's like, oh well, you want to change the garbage? You didn't tell me what to do specifically. And it's like dumping on the ground kind of thing. It's like they go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
It's like nothing or everything, nothing. It's they need.
And this is right now going down the path of the wheel of justice right now with suspensions, because everyone's like, let's just spin the wheel, flip a coin. Is it a goal? Is it not a goal? Who knows?
The infuriating thing is you look at it and you're watching the game with the majority of fans and you're like, yeah, that's interference. And I don't call it. You're just like, the fuck? Like, everyone's confused.
Right.
I went to a Canucks game last year. A pretty obvious goal interference. I was versus who were they playing? I can't remember who they were playing. Anyway, I was not cheering for the Canucks because fuck the Canucks.
Adam cheers for the Canucks.
Let it be known. You. Anyway, so we go. It was a pretty clear goal interference. The Canucks scored. The Canucks got scored against. Sorry, and it was a terrible call. Even from the stands, every single fan in there was confused as to why it wasn't a goal. Or why it wasn't a goal stood. Every single one. It didn't matter if they were for the Canucks, against Canucks. Even I was like, okay, I hate the Canucks, but that's a goal. Or it's not a goal. And they called it.
They called it a goal. And that's why he thought shouldn't have been a goal.
Yeah, clearly.
Should have been a goal.
But it's just the NHL. Realistically, for a growing sport that's trying to promote themselves, that's trying to make the game faster, easier, blah blah, is not doing themselves any favor with their goal determination lately. If the players don't know what a goal, if it's going to be a goal or not, then how are the fans supposed to even guess?
Exactly. Yeah. Continuing on from fuck the refs and fuck the whole goalie interference situation, Jagr is finally on.
Well, yes and no.
I'm not gonna lie. When he got sent down to the waivers, I really wanted the Oilers to pick him up. Just because I wanted a Jagr jersey.
I wanted to see Jagr play with McDavid just to see the contrast in speed.
Yeah, but what can you do at this point? Because I don't know. It's just the speed is just not there, and it's just turned into a messy situation. Because he was brought in for one specific reason, and then he himself was like it looks like he's the most depressed person on the planet. Because he's just going yeah. I really want to play. I really want to hit that second or first in terms of all-time games played, and I'm not able to.
I think because Jagr is very much still an athlete that in his mind is 30 years old. He works out like a 30-year-old. He takes care of himself. There's stories where even after games he puts on a weight vest and goes on a bike for an hour, and it's like he himself thinks of himself as a young buck still. He's not. And so I imagine what's happened this year is with nagging injuries. He said his knees hurt never like it has before.
It's ever hurt is what he said.
It's one of those things where he is getting frustrated. He can't play at the NHL level, and I think teams know that. And I don't think he wanted to go to any other team. So I imagine he wants to go to Europe. He said he might be back. Calgary still holds his rights. He wants to go play with Cladano and I believe in the Czech league, and then play for the playoffs ideally. And I imagine that what goes on with the Flames, he might come back for some time. But he did say at the start of this year, this is probably the last year in the NHL. Mm-hmm. So have we seen the end of Jaromir Jagr?
Everyone's saying might not be, but this is pretty much the end.
This
is the end here.
If I was a betting man, I'd put money on he's not coming back.
He's not coming back, yeah.
But you never know. If that is Jagr, he defies all expectations.
In terms of chat. Here's another segue. In terms of another team or situation that's defying all expectations, the Las Vegas Miracles. Golden Knights.
Same thing.
Have strung together quite the decent campaign. They are second in the league, just behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. The fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning lately have been sort of slumping and really needed Hedman back, the Vegas Golden Knights could possibly finish with a President's Trophy win. Wow. What do you think about that, Adam? I want to sweep them, by the way. I want the Oilers to sweep them.
Yeah, I want that to be the whole stat where the Vegas Golden Knights have never beat the Edmonton Oilers kind of thing.
I never want them to beat Edmonton. I want Edmonton to whip them every single time because I am petty.
See, I don't mind it. I'm not going to actively cheer for the Knights. If they get to the playoffs, I will cheer for them because I don't like most of the Western Conference. But it's one of those things where they've now gone from, oh well, that's a pretty good story, to shit, this team's actually really good. They're actually playing good hockey. They had 2 games this week where they came down. They scored 2 goals in 10 seconds to go up on, I think it was the Flames. Yeah. And it's, they did the same thing as Montreal. They scored, I think it was 3 goals in the last 7 minutes to win the game. They are finding ways to win games. They're a resilient team. They have 5 or 6 players playing. I mean, everyone's playing above their level, but 5 or 6 players that are playing absolutely unreal hockey this year. Mm-hmm. They have assets now in the wings. They have a lot of draft picks for the next couple of years. what they've essentially done, what George McPhee has done, is taken a team of third and fourth liners, or second and third liners, and made a whole roster full of them. So they have depth beyond any other team. Their whole team is built up of, well, between, but it's mostly third and fourth liners, but they have a team they can just roll the lines on. With the Oilers, with most teams, if you shut down their top three players, the rest of the team has to step up, and that's a big step up for them. But the Knights, they just roll all four because they know that they can get the job done. And they've got some pretty darn good help from Marc-Andre Fleury and Malcolm Subban, which has made a big difference. But it'll be interesting to see how well the Knights finish the playoffs or finish the season. I don't think they'll beat Tampa. I think Tampa's just too good this year. Reference to urinating treatment. They don't. Dan Girardi's playing. On Vasilevsky to win Dan Girardi's playing quite well, I will say. Hedman, Stroman, Girardi have all been pretty good this year. Braden Point's been a breakout player. Kucherov is unreal this year. Stamkos is obviously killing it. Vasilevsky's been incredible. But with that said, is it enough to beat them? Can the Knights beat the Lightning for the President's Trophy? Don't think so.
Nah, dude, it's going to be the Capitals. The Capitals are going to come from behind and win it. Calling it out.
Yeah, that'll be their curse.
I mean, that's the way it has to go, right? The Capitals make it to the end. They win the President's Trophy. They barely beat the 8th round seed. Half their roster gets injured in the process. And then they get to face Pittsburgh.
I was just saying, who's the Cup favorite this year, then, do you think, right now?
Cup favorite, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. Like, West, I would say between Nashville and I don't know.
Even Vegas.
Lost constantly. I wouldn't give it to Vegas. No.
I would say.
Okay, that brings me to my opinion on this matter. I am not a Vegas believer. I think whatever's happening with Vegas is largely attributed to three major things. One, the other teams have never gotten to play this roster before. That's simply put how it comes down to. They've never faced this combination of players in their life before. This system's been something that's sort of been hidden in Florida, in the Eastern Conference, generally speaking, this team was not a big marquee team. And then you come to this season, and Gerard Gallant gets to put a bunch of ragtag teams together with his system, which only needs ragtag players to work together, and manages to make it work. But I don't think it'll last. I honestly think that their most major injuries that have happened have been to their goaltenders, and really delved into their goaltender depth. And obviously, still with Malcolm Subban and so on, they managed to still win games. But at the end of the day, it's, how many games has Neil missed? How many games has Carlson missed? How many games has you could say that, like, it's by committee, but, like, if Carlson goes down, that's a 26% shooting percentage with, like, 28 goals or 26 goals this season that they'd be losing. And quite literally, every other team has had injuries to major players. Even Tampa Bay lost Stamkos for a few games. They've lost Hedman for so many games. And Hedman's practically the guy that's holding their defense together. And you could honestly make the argument that, like, hey, if you lose your major player for a number of games, it's bad. But that's where the depth comes into question, because I would argue that they have really bad depth. And not in terms of bad depth from their top guys getting replaced easily, but I mean in terms of when their top guys go down and the bottom guys have to fill in, the guys below that have to come in and help them out in terms of forwards are bad. And that's
you could say that about any team, though.
Forwards. Defensemen, definitely.
You can say that about any team, though. Look who's covered for Nuge since he's been out.
Okay, I would say Oilers have horrible depth this season. You can't even make the argument about the Oilers in this argument.
Yeah, the Penguins are in the same boat. If Malcolm Crosby goes down, who's their line setter? Sprong?
Yep. Nope.
So, like,
it's a fair argument with the Penguins. And that's sort of the reason why Penguins are doing absolutely horrible before they manage to piece it together at the end, or lately.
Well, what about the Bolts? Who beyond Stamkos and
went down for a few games.
Kucherov, right?
For a few games, Kucherov missed, I think, a game or two. like every one of their players. Tyler Johnson like missed a handful of games. Like all their players have missed games.
Right, but I mean, it's a fair point. Vegas really hasn't had to deal with any major issues aside from their 4 goaltenders going down, which was absurd.
Because the other thing that happened, sorry,
with that said, Arun, it is worth noting that Fleury was down for like 20 games.
No, that's true.
That's your top goaltender who was in the All-Star game, down for 20 games, and they still managed.
He was down for less than
he was gone for a long time. He was gone for a month and a bit. They played much better in front of their goaltender than they could have and should have, probably realistically. They played way above their expectations, but it's one of those things that I think, I don't know whether or not they've earned the right to be called one of the best teams in the NHL is debatable, but I don't think they're worth discounting anymore. I think they have to acknowledge them as a top 5, top 10 team in the NHL this year.
I don't acknowledge that. I think it's 100% a familiarity issue, and it's probably not going to be this season where they fall from grace, but next season for sure. I'm predicting them to be a bottom 5 team in the league. Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse and say they'll be better next year. They're not good next year.
I know. I'm saying they're going to be a bottom 5 or bottom 3 team in the league.
I don't know if they'll be that bad. I think they might be middling. I think they might be the mediocre, like into the place you don't want to be in the NHL, with mediocre, not quite bad enough to get a good high pick, not quite good enough to make the playoffs. But I will say that I'm looking forward to the playoffs, because I think whether or not they play well in the playoffs, it'll be fun to watch a new team in the playoffs.
One thing is for sure, Gallant has won the Jack Adams.
It's done
at this point, unless the team goes through a historic collapse. To finish off the year, he's pretty much won it. And
I think they're at a 99.3% chance.
Who's the coach for the Tampa Bay? I keep forgetting the name.
John Cooper.
I think John Cooper should be winning that. Because you could say that they've got so much talent, but where the hell did Braden Point come from?
What about the Avalanche?
Yeah, the Avalanche should be there too. That's a team that was absolutely garbage last year, and this year they're just putting it together. Albeit, I do think without McKinnon, they will fall heavily from grace.
What about the Jets?
Same thing. Jets, I think should Cheveldayoff should win best
GM of the year.
GM of the year, because if you look at the Jets, a huge part of how the Jets came together is just in terms of which players did they opt to keep, which players did they opt to bring in, and how did they keep all the contracts together, right?
They've done. I will say that I actually didn't even realize until last month how good the Jets were this season. And
I have Connor Hellebuck on my fantasy team. I know how good Jets are.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasant surprise, I think, and I imagine that Winnipeg is gonna be fucking crazy during the playoffs. Yeah. They were loud a few years ago and they got swept by the Ducks. I can't imagine how loud they're going to be now that they're a good team.
And the crazy thing is, if you took all their centers and then matched up against, in terms of the depth chart, against the Oilers, their top 2 centers would be above Draisaitl. Depth chart. I would say 100% they would be.
Scheifele and...
100%. Blake Wheeler has been on fire with first-line minutes.
Wheeler's been good this season. I don't know if I'd put him above... Right now, I'd put him above Draisaitl. Over time... Draisaitl's more consistent. He's still on pace for 70 points this year.
I've got to look up Wheeler's point total.
You can say what you want. Draisaitl's on pace for 70 points. And he has been for the last couple of seasons.
Yes, but the only time in the last couple of seasons where Blake Wheeler didn't hit above 70 points was 2014, 2015.
Okay.
The other times he's hit above 70 points. This season too, he's looking to break possibly 80. So, I'm of the opinion that he's better. Anyway, do you have anything else that you want to talk about here? Because I don't think we can, or do we want to talk about Winnipeg, for example?
I don't really have a whole lot on Winnipeg, but was there nothing else we had planned?
Nope, that's everything. That's all our topics.
Trying to think of anything else Oilers related. Al Montoya's been pretty good.
I don't know. He's looked good in comparison because Talbot's looked bad.
I don't think Montoya's played poorly. I think the team in front of him has played like shit.
I think Talbot, like, honestly, like, when we made that midterm review and before Talbot played those games, we were nicer on Talbot. But if I were to give Talbot a rating right now, I would give him a D. If I could go lower, I would.
He's been pretty bad.
He's been very bad. He's let in weak ones. When it rains, it pours with him. It's just awful. Right.
Well, then I have a question, kind of unrelated, but related to the defense core. Then, what do you do with defense next year? Because obviously Brandon Davison's been pretty decent, but we don't know if management thinks the same thing. Mm-hmm. Matt Benning's been pretty bad, piss poor. Yeah.
Avito should get more minutes. I'll be honest. He hasn't looked bad, but the problem with the V2 is he pinches too much.
Well, that's a problem.
The coaching staff hates him for it, but like that also means that that's to give you an idea in terms of why I don't fault a V2 that much for pinching so much is Benning has the best Corsi on the team among defensemen. No, second best. And the reason that his Corsi is so good is because his offensive zone starts is the most on the team. It's above 60% in offensive zone starts. So Davidson's getting Benning's getting everything handed to him on that regard, and I always have a hard time in terms of not giving preference for a guy like a Vito, or at least a chance. That being said, Benning in terms of projection as a player is definitely projected to be higher than a V2. But at the end of the day, I think Avito's better right now.
I mean, Benning's been pretty bad this season.
He's been pretty bad this season.
So that's
I thought he was bad last season. I'll be honest.
Benning? I thought he was okay last season. It's worth noting though, Avito's 28.
Oh, right. That's true.
He's not a young gun. No. Benning has a higher ceiling for sure. But if we look at defense right now, and we'll probably make this brief because I think we're over 45. We have Avito, Benning, Davidson, Clefbaum, Larson, Nurse, Russell, and Sekera. Under contract next year, we have Sekera, Russell, Larson, Clefbaum, and I believe Benning. Nurse needs to be re-signed. I think he's an RFA this year.
Benning needs to be re-signed.
Oh, Benning, Nurse, and Avito need to be re-signed. Gribe is gone. Russell and Sekera are fine. Larson is obviously out right now. Condolences to the family. I don't know one's going to see this, but
our condolences from the podcast to Larson and his family.
That's a sad situation. But whether or not we re-sign Davidson, I think we should. I think he's a good, great 6th, 7th defenseman. Mm-hmm. I'd play him bottom pairing. I'm fully biased. I love Benning. I love Davidson. But the issue with that is who do you leave off that roster? I don't think V2's been better than he's been better than Benning this year. I don't think he's a long-term solution over Benning. So I guess you have Davidson and or Benning riding Pine with Sekera, Russell, Nurse, Larson, Clefbaum being your top 4. And then you can throw in Davidson and Benning as your bottom pairing. And I don't think it's stellar, but it's possible. The thing is, though, in Bakersfield, we now have Bear and Jones.
I think Jones is a very long way away. I don't even think Bear will honestly make it. And if he does, I would project him as a bottom 2 defenseman in the league.
I think he's playing pretty well this year, is he not?
Yeah, but I'm a huge proponent of size doesn't matter, but among defensemen, how often do you see a short defenseman succeed in the NHL?
Well, he has 11 points in 27 games, so he's not exactly tearing it up. He doesn't think that.
It's still pretty good, honestly.
That's pretty good for a first year. I don't think they'll be on the team next year.
No.
They're just not. They're not. Obviously, it's gonna take a little bit. I'm just gonna check Caleb Jones here. Caleb Jones actually has 13 points in 40 games. So Bears had some injury issues this year, which is part of it. Bears played pretty good. Yeah, it's not an easy situation at this point. Anyway,
I don't know.
that's probably it.
Sorry, I guess we will conclude our podcast because we weren't planning to go for very long today. It's not been a very active 2 weeks outside of some NHL general news that's been happening. On the whole, the Oilers are looking like they've somewhat put it together to stay average to what they are right now.
Let's say relevant. That's
the
a lie.
last 5. What's your prediction for the score tomorrow night? Or day after tomorrow?
Who are we playing? Tampa?
Oh yeah, Tampa.
We're gonna lose 4-1.
I think we're gonna win 3-1.
Yeah, I don't predict us winning that one.
I think we match up well against Tampa, but if we take a lot of penalties, we will lose. And that's because Tampa's power play has been phenomenal this year.
I mean, our power play is still one of the worst of all time. So.
Or their power play has been phenomenal this year, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I mean, and they're flying from Vancouver today. So I don't think we're gonna fare very well. In the last 4 games they've played, they beat Philly 5-1. They lost to Winnipeg 3-1. They beat Calgary 7-4. They beat Vancouver 4-2. Yeah. So I'm not super amped for this game. Also, my roommate's also a Tampa fan, so that's gonna suck.
Oh man, that was the game you went to, wasn't it?
No.
No. Wrong.
Nope.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us today for the Oil Drop Podcast, number 54, otherwise known as the Oil Spill Podcast. We apologize for the technical issues that we've had during this past 2 hours. We can't really control the fact that Skype and Discord didn't work the way we wanted it to. However, we put it together. Anyway, this has been me, otherwise known as RuneTech5 on Reddit, or Arun. And with me today was Adam, otherwise known as Shreem44722. And thank you very much for joining us today. For those of you that saw it live, for those of you that are catching us later, please do follow us on Twitter. There's a Twitter link in the thing below. We might still continue making that Discord link, but we're not too sure in terms of how far we're going to go with Discord. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Please do like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Which is my birthday.